A warm welcome to episode 2 of the second season of the Realise Mindfulness podcast. This season, our theme is mindful compassion, and together we'll explore some of the core themes and practices from one of the leading mindful compassion courses, Mindfulness-Based Compassionate Living. Episode 1 of the podcast began with an interview with one of the course developers, Eric van den Brink. And if you haven't listened to that interview yet, I really encourage you to do so, as Eric offers a broad yet deep insight into the course, its origins, what it offers to participants, and how to work with some of the challenges that we can encounter along the way. In our episode today, we explore how our brain evolved in a way that often leaves us focused on surviving, and how compassion can help us step into a life of thriving. And in every episode, we'll explore a key theme of mindful compassion, as offered by the Mindfulness-Based Compassionate Living course. And a short disclaimer at this point. The Mindfulness-Based Compassionate Living course was developed as a course to support deepening your mindfulness practice, and it assumes that you've already spent some time building mindful foundations. So, if you're new to mindfulness, you might find it helpful to start by listening to season 1 of the podcast. And if you're ready and eager to explore mindful compassion now, then let me acknowledge that the course is a rich and deep one, and this podcast is in no way a replacement for attending an 8-week course. Rather, it is intended as maybe an introduction, or perhaps a companion or a refresher for the course. And if you're interested in finding out more, I'll include some helpful links in the show notes. So, without further ado, let's begin today's episode as we lay the foundations for mindful compassion, beginning by building an understanding of how our brain operates. By understanding that our brains evolved in a way that focuses on surviving, often to the detriment of our thriving, we can begin to understand that some of our less helpful thinking patterns and ways of responding are not our fault. Rather, they are a result of the way that we're wired. That doesn't mean, though, that we're stuck with them, and it doesn't give us carte blanche to behave in ways that could hurt ourselves or others. But it does remind us to be kind and patient with ourselves as we grow the skills and qualities of mindful compassion and learn to befriend our tricky brain. We can get a simple understanding of the human brain and its evolution by using Dr. Daniel Segal's hand model. Although modern neuroscience reminds us that this is a metaphor rather than a highly accurate biological description, it is memorable and easy to understand. So, if you're listening in a place where it's safe for you to do so, maybe you'd like to join me by holding up one of your hands around 30 centimetres in front of your face. If you put your thumb in the middle of your palm and then curl your fingers over the top, you'll have the basis of our hand model for the brain. You can imagine that your face is the front of the knuckles and the back of your head is the back of your hand. The wrist represents our spinal cord. So now, if you lift your fingers up and raise your thumb, you arrive at the first part of the nervous system, the area just above our wrist, which represents our brain stem, what we can call the reptilian brain, sometimes described as our life support system. It's the part that controls our basic autonomic functions, the things that keep us alive, breathing, etc. And also it controls our fight, flight or freeze response. This part of our brain is the oldest, around 500 million years old. Now, if we curl our thumb back towards the palm, we have a representation of the limbic area, most notably the amygdala, which is involved in our emotional and behavioural responses, especially when it comes to reproduction, caring for the young, And this is sometimes referred to as our mammalian brain. And we can think of this area evolving around 200 million years ago. And now, if you curl your fingers back over the top of your thumb, now we have a sense of the frontal cortex, which allows us to maintain emotional balance, to have empathy and tune in to other people. It's also the part of the brain responsible for problem solving, for moral judgment and rationality. Sometimes this is called our primate brain, and it evolved around 2 million years ago. Finally, if you focus on the fingernail of your middle finger, you can imagine this as our medial forebrain, and what has been termed our mindful human brain. This is what enables awareness and insight, and this part of our brain is estimated to have evolved only about 10,000 years ago. The reptilian and the mammalian brain together can be thought of as the old brain functions, and the primate and mindful brain can be considered our new brain functions. Mindful awareness helps us to keep the communication lines open, and compassion helps us to appreciate that the design of what Professor Paul Gilbert, developer of compassion-focused therapy, calls our tricky brain, understanding that it's down to evolution, and it's not our fault. When all parts of our brain are communicating well together, we can make our best decisions. We can get a sense of this if we imagine a build-up of pressure inside our curled hand, causing our fingers to open up so the logic system of our frontal cortex is no longer in communication with the more primitive sections of our brain. If we respond on autopilot from this place, we may not make the best decisions. This is where mindful awareness can help us to notice what's happening, to pause and enable a shift from reacting to responding. We explored this in more detail in Season 1. One practical way to invite our systems back into balance and into a sense of integration is to focus on a soothing breathing rhythm. This simple practice can restore balance in the nervous system by increasing vagal tone and regulating heart rate variability. Soothing breathing can help us to increase resilience and reduce stress, integrating old brain functions and creating a sense of soothing and well-being, allowing new brain functions to support better cognitive functioning. So, I'm conscious that's a lot of words, so maybe we could settle into something more simple and practice a soothing breathing rhythm together now. So, settling into your body, however you are right now, whether you're sitting or standing, tuning into a sense of feet on the floor. And then inviting attention to the breath. And if it feels okay for you, starting to slow down the breathing. And an invitation to take a really deep breath in. And then for the exhale, really empty the lungs, letting all the breath go. Maybe even if it feels comfortable to do so, making an audible out-breath, really sighing out on the out-breath. And maybe doing that a couple more times. And then allowing the breath to settle into a soothing breathing rhythm. And this may be slightly slower, slightly deeper than your everyday breathing rhythm. or maybe not. Either way, letting yourself be gently rocked on the rhythm of your own breath. And if it feels okay for you, an invitation to add soothing touch to our soothing repertoire. Maybe resting one or both hands on the chest, over the area of the heart. Or perhaps one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly. Or quietly holding our own hands in our lap. Maybe gently stroking one hand with the other. Or even giving ourselves a hug. So experimenting with what soothing touch feels right for you. And of course, if it doesn't feel right for you, then feeling free to let that go. And just rest attention on the soothing breathing rhythm. So in a moment, we'll let our soothing breathing practice fade into the background. And of course, as you listen, you can continue with the soothing touch if you choose. And knowing that we've just experienced together a very brief self-compassion practice. So let's dive a bit deeper into compassion now. And let's just start by exploring what we mean by compassion. Compassion can be described as an awareness of pain and suffering, both our own and that of other people, and coupled with a motivation to take action to alleviate suffering. And over the 10 episodes this season, we'll explore some of the key elements of the science-backed mindfulness-based compassionate living course, with a view to sharing some of the skills and practices which are designed to enhance our well-being. We'll look at ways to deepen our meditation practice by growing self-compassion and learning ways to balance kindness and compassion for others with care for ourselves. The word compassion can be quite evocative, and already you may have noticed it triggering some reactivity in yourself. We touched on this in episode 1 during my conversation with Eric van den Brink, particularly the reservations that many of us have around self-compassion and being kind to ourselves, perhaps being worried that we don't deserve it, or that we might be viewed as weak or self-indulgent. We'll come back to this topic again next episode, but for now I'll simply acknowledge that although reticence to practice self-compassion in particular can be quite common, there is a rapidly growing body of research which points to the benefits of compassion. For example, it can help us to cope with life's adversities, to take more personal responsibility, to be happier and more optimistic, and to have more fulfilling relationships. So how do we achieve this? As we develop an understanding of how our brain evolved, it can be helpful to explore the old brain processes of emotional regulation, how they can work in our favour, and how they can sometimes derail us. Professor Paul Gilbert offers a helpful 3-sphere model of emotional regulation, which supports us to get our basic needs met. Much of my work is nature-based. I love drawing on the wisdom of animals, and to help bring this model to life, I invite you to picture a cat. Now, when a cat's relaxed, she may stretch out in the sun or curl up in a cosy warm spot and purr if she's stroked. This is an example of our soothing system. Here we seek safeness and connection and feel contentment and ease. Conversely, If a cat sees an angry dog nearby, they'll tense, make themselves really big, arching their back, fur bristling, maybe even hissing. This is an example of our threat system coming online. This system is seeking out our safety and protection, and the feelings it arises may be anger, anxiety, or aversion. However, if conditions change, the dog goes away and maybe the cat notices a little mouse sniffing nearby. The drive system's likely to be triggered, and when the drive system's online, we're seeking out resources and rewards, and the feelings we may experience include excitement and satisfaction, of course, if we catch our mouse, as it were. Animals naturally sense which system's needed, and also how to maintain a healthy balance, returning regularly to the soothing system for opportunities to rest, digest, and recover. However, our modern human lifestyle means we're often in overdrive. The threat system's on high alert at the state of our world, or even simply at the regular pings and alerts of our mobile devices. Likewise, our consumer society is often trying to tell us we need more, bigger, newer, and to sell us the latest product or upgrade. And of course, from an evolutionary perspective, we're also wired to pay attention to threats and to chase rewards. This focus on paying attention to threats is sometimes referred to as the negativity bias. Our ancient ancestors knew that they had to pay attention, and those who didn't probably didn't survive long enough to further their line. It may be helpful to take a pause now and contemplate how the three systems show up in your own life. Do you recognize each of the three systems? Maybe one seems more familiar to you than the others. And thinking about a typical day, which system's most regularly activated? Is it the threat, the drive, or the soothing system? How much time spent avoiding sticks or chasing carrots? And how much time do you allow for rest and recuperation? And if you're 100% honest, are you fully resting, or is the drive or threat system still being subtly activated as you interact with your phone? And if you notice that thinking about all this begins to activate the threat or drive system, then just acknowledging the humanness of that, and maybe taking a moment now to connect with a soothing breathing rhythm. Perhaps also offering yourself some soothing touch, hand on heart or holding your hands in your lap. Another way to work kindly with our natural negativity bias can be to practice gratitude. Perhaps by beginning or ending the day by listing on our fingers things we're grateful for. These can be small everyday things like a warm drink or a favourite piece of clothing, or big things like our health and relationships. The more specific we can make the things we're grateful for, really bringing them to life through all our senses, seeing and feeling, hearing, smelling and tasting, then the more impact the practice will have. Psychologist Rick Hanson suggests that savouring an experience for around 15 seconds or more enables us to really get the full nourishment from this gratitude practice. And in a moment, I'm going to guide us in a longer practice that integrates all we've explored today and invites us to focus on our soothing system through the old brain roots of soothing breath and the new brain roots of positive imagery. But first, let's review everything that we've covered so far. We've explored how the evolutionary development of our brain can mean we're actually wired for surviving rather than thriving, and how mindful compassion can help us redress that. We've talked about the 3 emotion regulation systems, and how, because of both evolutionary design and our modern culture, the threat and drive system can become overactive, resulting in stress-related health issues. And we've started to look at ways to restore balance through adopting a soothing breathing rhythm, through soothing touch, and through gratitude and appreciation. The meditation practice I'll share today, which helps us put some of these ideas into practice and to really invite our soothing system online, is a safe place meditation. So, finding yourself a comfortable space where you won't be disturbed and choosing a comfortable posture. Let's practice together. This is a safe place meditation, and it will last around 15 minutes. It's a core practice from the mindfulness-based compassionate living program, and with all practices in the program, you're invited to begin with the first 2 steps of the 3-step breathing space. So beginning with a sense of mindful awareness as we settle into a comfortable posture for our practice. And that may be sitting, it may be lying. You may decide to close your eyes or leave them open and let the gaze soften and drop. I'm beginning to invite the attention into the body, noticing what's present. It can be helpful to invite the attention inwards to the points of contact where the body's supported by whatever surface it's resting on. So maybe that's a sense of the body resting on the chair, the feet in firm contact with the floor, and just allowing the weight of the body to release a little perhaps into whatever surface is supporting it. A sense of being held. Even maybe a sense of letting go on the out-breath. Nothing to do here, nothing in particular to achieve. Just allowing the body to be. Maybe choosing an anchor for your practice, so this may be the sense of body on chair or feet on floor, or perhaps hands resting gently in the lap, or a sense of the breath in the body, or the soundscape around you. And knowing that this is a resourcing anchor that you can return to at any point in practice if you start to feel distracted or perhaps things get a little bit too much temporarily. It's a safe haven to return to, a place of stability and resourcing. And for now, letting your anchor fade into the background and expanding to a broader sense of what's here in the body. Maybe noticing any sensations in the body that are perhaps showing up as tightness or holding or tension. A gentle invitation to see if it's possible to just maybe breathe into and out of those areas, just gently letting go a little. Releasing on the out breath if that feels okay. And noticing what's here now. And likewise, you may want to notice whether there are any areas of the body that feel particularly at ease right now. Maybe a sense of being held and supported by the chair. A sense of warmth. The texture of a soothing fabric against skin. And just allowing yourself to really soak this in. And if you can't find anything right now that feels particularly comforting or soothing, then maybe just resting attention in your anchor. And from this sense of mindful awareness of the body, maybe expanding to notice what thoughts might be here. What moodscape. And seeing if it's possible to hold it all in mindful awareness. Allowing things to be just as they are right now. Allowing ourselves to be with our experience without needing it to be any particular way. And then an invitation to move to step 2 of the breathing space practice, which is an invitation to focus the attention on the breath if that feels okay, or resting in another anchor if that feels more supportive for you. And tuning into the felt sensations here. A sense of steadiness. Stability. And if it's okay to work with the breath, then maybe just really exploring what it might be like to invite a soothing breathing rhythm. Perhaps fractionally slowing down the rhythm of the breath. An invitation to deepen the in-breath and extend the out-breath. If it feels right, maybe even inviting an audible sigh out to the breathing out. An opportunity to fully release on the out-breath. Each in-breath a new beginning, each out-breath a letting go. Just allowing yourself to be gently rocked on the rhythm of the breath. And knowing that you can return to this soothing breathing rhythm at any point in the practice. Perhaps if you feel stuck or a bit lost, you can spend a moment reconnecting with the soothing breathing rhythm. Gently resuming the practice whenever you're ready to. And now there's an invitation to imagine a safe place. A place where you can feel secure and at ease, and where you can be peacefully alone, just the way you are right now, with nobody else around. And it may be a place coming up from memory, or from fantasy, or a mix of the two. It may be a place outside in nature, perhaps at the seaside, or a beautiful forest, a serene mountain, a cosy cabin, and maybe a place indoors, maybe even a cosy corner of your own home, or anywhere that presents itself as an opportunity to enjoy some time in a safe place. And an invitation to really involve all of your senses. So for some of us with these exercises, the visual sense can be quite strong. Maybe you can really picture clearly your safe place. You can see it, the colours, the shapes, the environment. And for others of us, our safe place might manifest in different ways through different senses. Maybe you're tuning into what you can hear around you. The sound of waves, or the rustle of the wind in the trees, or other sounds. Maybe your place has a distinctive aroma, a scent. Maybe there are soothing textures, a sense of warm air against skin, or a sense of sitting down in the mossy nook of a tree, or soothing fabrics against your skin in a cosy corner of your home. And for some of us, it's more just a general felt sense of what it's like to be in this environment. So allowing yourself to really soak in your safe place through all your senses, allowing whichever senses feel most vivid for you today to present themselves, and allowing yourself to be pleasantly surprised by the power of your own imagination. Not needing the experience to be any particular way. And knowing that images may be quite fleeting. Maybe many places are presenting themselves for your attention, and that's fine. Just allowing your experience to be exactly as it is. There's no right or wrong way to experience your safe place. Remembering that in mindfulness, all experiences can be welcomed with playful curiosity. And even if unpleasant experiences present themselves, then seeing if we can create space for them too. Noticing them with a non-judgmental mind. Allowing our safe place to welcome us whatever our experience. and knowing we can always rest for a while in our anchor if we need to take some time to resource ourselves. And now an invitation to notice what effects spending time in your safe place is having on your body. What do you notice in your muscles? If you are aware of any points of tension at the start of the practice, what's here now? Have things shifted? Or maybe remained the same? And likewise with any pleasant sensations, noticing what's around now. And if you are able to tune into any really pleasant sensations, maybe allowing yourself a moment or two to really savour them. Maybe noticing what's present around the face. Maybe even noticing a gentle half smile. And around the chest area, maybe there's a sense of opening or warmth or allowing. And in the belly, what's here? And through the base of the body, the seat and the feet, what sensations are present here? What do you notice now? And an invitation now to imagine that your safe place is really welcoming your presence. It really appreciates you being here and showing up. It's welcoming you with joy. It wishes you well. It's grateful for your presence. How does that affect you? How's that showing up in the mind-body system right now? And knowing that you can continue resting in your safe place for as long as you wish. And you can always return to this practice, wherever you are and however you feel. In fact, at any time in your day, you can practice imagining this place to come home to, again and again, in whatever forms it may reveal itself. And so for now, taking the opportunity to thank your safe place for showing up in this way. And maybe saying goodbye to it for now, knowing that you can return again whenever you choose. So saying your goodbyes to your safe place for now. Taking some deeper breaths. Returning to a felt sense of the weight of the body on the chair. Feet on the floor. And in your own time, as our practice comes to an end, slowly opening your eyes. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. It's my heartfelt wish that this podcast, in its own small way, contributes to the spread of mindfulness and compassion in our world. If you like the podcast, please subscribe and follow it. And if you have friends who may be interested, please share it with them too. And if you'd like to find out more about me and my work, including the Mindfulness-Based Compassionate Living group course and one-to-one coaching, you can do so at my website, www.realisemindfulness.com. Please do keep listening, and if you'd like to keep in touch, it would be wonderful to hear from you. So, until next time, wishing you ease and kindness in the flow of life.